Well, thank you for joining us this evening. This is a regularly scheduled Greer City Council meeting called and convened this evening, December 8th, 2015. Having called the meeting to order and assembled us, I'd like to ask Troop 925 from Prince of Peace, the Boy Scout Troop 925 from Prince of Peace, if they would, to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. We will stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and then our invocation led by Councilman Lee Dumas.
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you so much tonight for this assembly and for all these folks gathered here, for this great city that you allow us to live in. And thank you so much for the staff and those that put themselves in harm's way each day to serve us. Lord, this is a special season for many Christians here in this nation and especially here at home. And we pray that that sweet blessing of the Christ child will come into the lives of so many this year, and that we may continue to try to give versus receiving. Lord, be with us tonight. Help us to do your will always, and help what we do here to be pleasing in your sight. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen.
Well, we certainly thank you for joining us this evening. This is a bit unusual to have a crowd this size, but you are always welcome to attend any time that you would like to come. As you can imagine, given the number of people that are here tonight, we have a number of items that are going to come before us this evening. Some of it housekeeping, some of it special recognitions, some of it petitioners, and others as well. And so with that, then we'll move forward with our agenda this evening. We would ask, as the meeting proceeds, we know that we're going to have some folks that are going to want to get home and get some supper, or may have studies to do, or just not want to sit through the rest of this meeting. So we know that you may want to slip out at some point in time. With the wall down, there are doors to this side as well to this side. We would ask that as quickly and quietly as you can get out, to go ahead and leave so that we can keep the meeting going. And please bear in mind that the lobby areas surround the chambers here, so be mindful of the conversations in the lobby areas as well too. This will be our last meeting for 2015, and so I guess given that, it's part of the reason that we have as many people as we have here this evening. That being said, we do want to wish all of you a safe and happy holiday and a Merry Christmas. We'll have events going on through the rest of the season. We had our Christmas tree lighting and downtown events this past weekend, including our parade, which was all of which were a huge success. As Mr. Dumas mentioned, our staff did a wonderful job as always, and those events continue to go on throughout the Christmas season. I would urge you to take advantage of the many different things that are going on in our downtown over the next several weeks. With that in mind, then, we'll go ahead and get started with those items that are before us. The first of which is a public forum. This is an opportunity that we give to those folks that have something that they would like to speak to council about that is germane to the agenda this evening. This evening we have two that have requested to speak in public forum. This is, as I mentioned, an opportunity to speak before council. What I would ask is that once you're recognized, that you would come to the podium. This will give us the opportunity to record your comments as part of the official record. So when you come, if you would state your name and address, the floor is yours. And so our first person to sign up this evening in public forum is, and I believe this is Tony or Mr. Doan. The floor is yours, sir.
My name is Tony Doan. I live at 109 Rich Glen Way. This is in regards to the proposal for the subdivision, the reserve at Rich Glen at 16 Quail Creek. Some of the concerns that my household has is the proposal itself and the effect it will have on Rich Glen Way. Some of the questions we have are in regards to traffic study, environmental study, the overall impact it'll have on Rich Glen Way and our neighborhood. There are 45 homes proposed for this subdivision, which when we do the math, you can say that'll be anywhere from 80, 90 to possibly 100 vehicles using Rich Glen Way as its only access to enter this subdivision within our subdivision. Last night we had an incident on our street involving 2 vehicles that enter and exit this property. They have been a nuisance for quite some time, entering and exiting at high rates of speed, disregard for the traffic, for the speed limit and public safety in a whole. We do have small children in our neighborhood that know the parents don't allow them to play in the streets, but as you know, children will be children and you have to look out for them. So at last night, at one given time, we had no less than 5 city police officers there to investigate this because certain people on our street, or most of the people on our street, are just fed up with it. And so we just took it into our own hands, called, and the police were called to come out to investigate. But our main concern is the effect and the impact that, again, 80 to 90 to 100 vehicles are going to have on our subdivision and our street alone, with only one access to this subdivision. We don't think much thought was given to it, or that's my opinion and my wife's opinion. I don't know how everyone else feels, but you know, we just want the answers to the questions. We think a traffic study that sometimes should be done, an environmental study should be done, a utility study should be done. There's also a bridge that covers this, that you cross to go into this property that was just recently rebuilt because of flood damage. And I'm sure it's been certified to withstand the weight of a car, SUV, light truck. But what will they do when they have a 20, 30, 40-ton vehicle repeatedly going over this easeway to get to this property? With that said, I just wanted to make this statement that our concern is the safety of our residents and our children in the neighborhood, and that this was just 2 cars that caused this incident. So imagine, again, what 80, 90, 100 vehicles are going to do at any given time during the day or night. With that said, we do have another representative from our neighborhood that is going to speak, and I would like to yield the rest of my time to him if possible.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, indeed, we do have another person that has requested to speak this evening, Thomas Riley. He's also requested an opportunity to speak. The floor is yours, sir.
My name's Thomas Riley, 122 Glen Creek Drive in Greer. Just to reiterate what Mr. Doan has already said with the proposal in regards to 16 Quail Creek Drive. As a neighborhood, we met and discussed this development. Our biggest concerns are the traffic, stormwater runoff, and the separation between the 2 neighborhoods. Being that it has one access point, which is directly through our neighborhood, we feel that we should have some of these items at least addressed. Mainly with the traffic study, what we want to see is, are there any possibilities for traffic calming? Having the one entrance, can we have anything that's put in place to slow down traffic? Is there any other possible way to have a second entrance? Enforcement for the speed limits and traffic laws, not only within our neighborhood, but on Henderson Circle and Henderson Gap. And then if there's any possibility with the county, city, or state for widening and better accessibility from Hammett Bridge to Henderson Circle. Henderson Circle is a very narrow road. We currently have about 99 homes in our neighborhood, plus the homes on Henderson Circle. So we'd like to see if there's any possibilities for that before this development is granted approval by the board. Just want to see if that's something we can take a look at. And the second biggest issue would be stormwater runoff. This is 17 acres of land that currently absorbs, I would say, the majority of all of the rainwater that falls on that property. When you add 45 more homes, driveways, streets, that's going to be a lot of runoff that's going into 2 creeks that meet at 1 culvert, and we feel that that might be a potential flooding hazard for the homes that live on those creeks, which lies in a floodplain. Part of it does. Obviously, I've been told that the stormwater would have to be approved before this plan is approved. I just want to make sure that that is in fact true, and that the stormwater testings or analysis, however that's done, is done in full. The last item that, as a homeowner association, that we want to see, if this neighborhood is going to be accessed through ours, directly behind ours, we'd like to see more of separation between the two. Be that leaving more of the existing tree line, anything that's possible to separate the two, we would like to see that. It's already going to be invasive enough having constant construction traffic through for anywhere from 12 months to 18 months to more. After that's done, then we have all these homeowners that have been coming through. So since we're already there, we'd like to see if we could have some more separation. And the last thing that we wanted to ask for the board, to make sure that before anything is approved, we know what utility tie-ins are existing, where they're going to be using the sewer, where the power is going to be coming from. Those were some items that weren't addressed fully with the Planning Commission, so we're hoping that can be taken into consideration before this moves forward. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for your time. We appreciate it. Looks like we will address this issue a bit later on in the evening, so we'll have an opportunity for council to discuss more of the questions that were raised this evening. With that, then, we're going to move to the minutes of the council meeting. Council, in your packets this evening, you got the minutes from November the 24th, 2015. I'll entertain a motion that they be received.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second in that regard. Any of items of note for the clerk? Hearing none. Ms. Duncan?
Ms. Bookert?
Yes.
Mr. Dumas?
Yes.
Mr. Bettis?
Yes.
Ms. Albert?
Yes.
Mayor Danner?
Yes. With that, then, we're going to move on to a special recognition, and to assist me with that, I'm going to ask Robin Bayuk, if she would, to join me here at the front. Ms. Bayuk serves as the director of our cultural arts programs here in the city, and we want to take some time to recognize our Giving Thanks art show winners from a past art show that we've just had here at City Hall. And so with that, then, if you, oh, there you are. Okay. What I'd like to do is ask the winners if they would to come up and then remain standing with me. We'd like to get a picture once we get everybody up here. First place in the elementary school is Bennett Stevens. He is a Bob Jones Academy 5th grader. Go ahead, you give him a round of applause. Second place in the elementary division goes to Andrew Howell, 5th grader at Bob Jones Academy. Our third place winner is Megan Mackey, who is homeschooled and a 5th grader. Fourth place in the elementary division was Dawson Mackey, also homeschooled and a 3rd grader. Do you two know each other? If that had been my sister, I'd have been standing over here. That's why I won. First place in grades 6 through 8, Taylor Marino from Bob Jones Academy, grade 8. First place in the middle school division. Second place in middle school, or grades 6 through 8, Isaac Cropsey. Balance it out a little. Third place in the grades 6 through 8, Ashley Miller from Bob Jones Academy. And fourth place goes to Mackenzie Mackey, homeschool, grade 8. In grades 9 through 12, our first place winner is Ryan McCullough from Greer High School. Our second place winner is Valerie Darling, homeschool in the 9th grade. And our third place winner in grades 12 through 9 is Madison Calvert, Greer High School, grade 12. Excuse me. We don't want to leave Alex Anderson out, who is our fourth place winner from Greer High School in grade 10. Well, congratulations to each and every one of you. I believe most of the art is still in the lobby there if you want to see some of these great works that these young people have produced for us. And congratulations to all of you, and we look forward to seeing you again maybe as repeat winners next year. Thank you very much. Give them another round. Well, we're not going anywhere. We'll give you time.
That's my Ed Dreyer pen. It's your Eddie D pen? Yeah. Pointer, not a... Yeah. You can go back. I have a green laser. Really?
All right, now you're free to go. Thank y'all for joining. I mentioned a minute ago we give time in what we call public forum for those that would like to speak of particular interest to something germane to the agenda to come and to speak to council, but we also from time to time entertain the request of a petitioner. A petitioner is someone who makes arrangements to come and to speak to council in regards to an issue relevant to a concern that they have or to something that they feel like is of note for the council, and or to make a request. And this evening, we have Harold Anderson, who is going to come this evening as a petitioner, and will come to the podium and petition council, which we welcome this evening. So, Mr. Anderson.
Harold Anderson, 208 Glen Rise Court in Greer. We want to greet the council. We came, I think, 8 months ago concerning the rental of the building on Davis Avenue and Snow Street. Since then, I've done my research and found out that there are some things that we had to put in place to make sure that we were qualified to lease the building. Since then, we've gathered a board together that will be to make sure the plan that we have will make sure we do it. We've had a board, some of our board members are with us tonight, that they are with us to make sure that the plan that we have, we will be able to see it. And the petition that we desire to do is to be a benefit to the community and help the community. Right now, the building has been lying dormant for months and nothing is going on in the building. I know a lot of things that we said we were going to do with the building, nothing has transpired, so the building is lying dormant but nothing is going on. So now we have put in place, we've been to the neighborhood, and the neighborhood have welcomed us. We went to Greer Ministry, went to other people in the area, and they said they would welcome the plan that we have for the building. We had I think you got, my wife handed you some paperwork, the thing that we had revised, the PowerPoint that we had submitted. We got a timeline. In 30 days, we submit to do certain things. In 3 months, we submit to do something else. And a year, we submit to do something else. So we have a timeline set aside, the things that we desire to do in the building to help the community and help the city. And I'm gonna, after I let these young ladies have a say, I got my treasurer with me tonight. He's going to put some dollar figures with the thing that we have petitioned, and you're going to see how by allowing us to utilize a vacant building that's not been used in a long time, you're going to see how the city is going to generate money and income, and how the people in the city is going to be helped and going to be blessed, so the city can be what the city is supposed to be, of the city coming together to help people. And if I got that's what I'm going to do.
Hello, my name is Daniela Racinos, and the rental of this building should be used for tutoring because kids like me need help in school. The tutoring for free we need because we need an education. It's not fair just to leave people out. So if we get this building, we can use it for tutoring so we can help kids that need help. And so we can make their future a difference.
My name is Rihanna Privet, and I am a part of the youth ministry and the Beginnings Outreach Ministry. The building is important not only to the church, but also to the youth. We can inspire not only with our religious beliefs, but also the way we can encourage. This church is not only based on religion, but also what we can do in this community. There are lots of things we can bring. We want to not only help the kids, but everyone in that community. Once we come over, there will be a change. There will be a brighter change for the better. It will be for the better. Since joining this church, I've always had an extra support system. And that, to a teenager, is an extra energy boost, if you know what I mean. Having someone who's always on you and there for you to support you through anything is very meaningful. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you.
Thank you. Jose Racinos, 111th Street in Greer. In your hands, you have our presentation and some of the numbers that I would like to share with you. Our mission is to partner with the city of Greer to build an infrastructure within the local Greer community to foster economic growth and improve the quality of life in our citizens. The only way to improve in the growth in the way of life is by education. That's the only way. Our mission is to provide educational, spiritual, prevention, cultural, and vocational opportunities for members within the local Greer community. As you can see on the second page, we have the multi-purpose building, how we're going to use it. Education, we have computer lab, literacy programs, ESOL programs. A person who speaks 2 languages has more opportunities to find jobs and better jobs and get better paid jobs. And spiritual, also we will use it for worship service, Bible studies, prevention, HIV test, STD counseling, screening, health and nutrition. We are being helped by New Horizons, Ryan White, and other agencies helping us to do all this in the city of Greer. Also, vocational, cultural, we have art class, cooking classes, vocational seminars, workshops, and other resources as benefit banks. And the projections of the startup cost will be only, this is if the city would like to run the program, only in the first month will be 4 tutors being low paid, $1,200 a month. 4 tutors will be $4,800 a month. On the cultural arts and crafts, $1,800 for 2 tutors. The prevention, HIV, AIDS, counseling, screening is about $4,000 a month. The cost to the city, making a total of $106,000 a year. Plus, in our plan is to have a summer camp program for 10 weeks, which will use probably between 7 and 10 people working in that building, and a cost close to $32,000 in those 10 weeks for so many labor being used, making a grand total of $138,000 per year. The cost to the city will be 0 if we can use that building. Our proposal is the next. 5 years lease of the building. New Beginnings Outreach Ministry will be responsible for utilities, liability insurance, maintenance of the property, repairs. The timelines that we have, because we would like to start on 2016, giving the opportunity to more kids to come and receive free education, will be 1 month to have the open house and start some spiritual services and workshops. 2 to 6 months, the program awareness to make sure and let the community know about the building and the programs that we are running in that building. Between 6 to 12 months to do the tutorial, ESOL, and the cultural programs. Between 1 and 3 years to have one of the HIV test locations in Greer and counseling in Greer. And 4 to 5 years to other resources. We don't know what other programs we can bring to the city. This will be a pilot program that we can use to expand to other places, helping the community with 0 cost to the city. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Anderson, you didn't play fair bringing those children up here. Now, you knew that, didn't you? Mr. Anderson, we want to assure you that every time that you have appeared before council, we have taken your request seriously and given it much consideration. A cocoon doesn't look like a whole lot but when it turns into a butterfly, it really is nice. And I think that we do have a cocoon right now in that building. There certainly has been actually probably a lot more work on the inside than you would realize. We are still trying to finalize some of the plans to make the most efficient and effective use of that building. And as we get closer to the point in time that we're going to need to make some final decisions about that, I would expect that we will involve the community in that process, and that would to give you and the folks that you minister to an opportunity to make suggestions that might be beneficial to the city and how we might utilize that building to its highest and best use. Our plan right now, and this council's had an opportunity to examine the building and to see some architectural renderings of what we anticipate that building might look like as we move forward. And while we're not quite ready to unveil those to the community yet, I think that time will be coming shortly. Our intention at this point is still that the primary purpose of the building will be for recreation and cultural arts. We hope that because of the layout of the building, as you mentioned, there may be other opportunities as well, and we will certainly keep those in mind as we move forward. And I think one of the suggestions that have come out of our visits to the meeting was that because of the location of the building in a neighborhood that the city considers very important, that we will want to make every effort to reach out to those that live around that area and see how we might, as a city, minister to them in the various ways that we can do that. So at this point, the council's commitment is that the city still needs the space and will use the space as its primary home for some recreational and cultural arts activities. But as we get closer to determining the exact function of that building, we will solicit input from our community, and we will certainly let you know when that time comes. With that, then, we will move on to other items this evening. We've got a couple of plans, well, actually an audit and a plan that we want to take a look at this evening, but the City of Greer audit is something that we always actually look forward to. It's an opportunity for us to gather some information in terms of our year end, which happened on June 30th of 2015. Our financial department is accredited and certified, and we are confident in their ability as the years go along, but it's always good to have a clear and clean audit of their work, which I think our community appreciates as well too. We are as open and forthright with our financial information on a day-to-day and a month-to-month basis as any city I know. It's available online and certainly can be available here for you as well too. We make no bones about the fact that we are diligent in the way that we handle your money, and we are public in that regard. And so it's always good to have our auditors come and to validate those things that we have done through the course of the year to make sure that your dollars, your tax dollars, are spent as wisely and effectively as they can be. Mr. David Seifert, who leads our financial department, is with us this evening, and will introduce the folks that will bring the audit to us this evening. Mr. Seifert.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. You'll notice on the agenda that we have two individuals listed from our audit firm, Johnny Britt and Lee Grissom. Excuse me. Mr. Britt had a scheduling conflict, but we are in very good and capable hands tonight with Mr. Lee Grissom, who led the audit here at the city with the firm S. Preston Douglas and Associates, and we'll allow him to present the audit findings from the firm, and then as you have questions, we'll move through those, and I will be right here beside him to help address those questions that you may have. This is Mr. Lee Grissom.
Mr. Grissom, if you'll, let's wait just 1 second there. I don't think all these people are leaving because you came to the podium, but we'll allow them to segue out. The floor is yours, sir.
Okay, again, my name's Lee Grissom.
and work for us, Preston Douglas. We've been auditing City of Greer for the 5th fiscal year. And so I'm going to go through 5 bullet points that I have. We'll go through the audit opinion, followed by a few disclosures I was going to let you guys know about. There's a new accounting principle this year that's affecting the balance sheet. And then there's one finding that I'll bring to your attention. And then we have some graphs we're going to go through. So, Dave, did you hand out the graphs? Okay. Okay, let's go through the report, and I'll try not to bore everybody to death and read it word for word, but it's page 33 of the audit report. Now, the main thing here is that we issued a clean audit opinion for June 30th, 2015 fiscal year. So it's a clean, unmodified opinion. So these numbers, which David and his staff prepared, we opine, our opinion is they're fairly stated in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles. And again, on this page, I'm just going to give you the abbreviated summary of what this is saying, but management's responsibility was to prepare the financials and as well as design, implement, and monitor internal controls, which is their responsibility. Our responsibility is just to give an opinion that the balances here are reasonably stated. So that's what we have done, and we do agree with the balances, that they are materially stated, free of material misstatement. So it's a clean opinion. It's the best opinion we can give, so that's a good thing. So any questions there? Okay. Second item, there's a couple of required disclosures I'm going to bring to your attention related to the audit. David and his staff and Susan gave us full access to the accounting records. They were forthright. They got the things we needed whenever we asked, so we couldn't have asked for a better cooperation with them. And we had no disagreements other than David occasionally disagreeing with a few things I come up with, but we might get into that later. But so we had no consultations with other accountants. We found no illegal acts. And again, there was no material misstatements in these financial statements that we found. And one other thing I'd like to say about their staff, it's their 5th year working with them. It's really good as an auditor to see familiar faces year after year in the finance department. So the very low turnover, which is from our standpoint. I mean, I'm working on 3 new clients this year, and there was 100% turnover in 2 years. So if you try to get something from any of those people, they give you blank stares. So it's really important to have that that core group that trusts each other and they work together. And so we've seen a lot of the same people for the last 5 years. So I think that's a really good thing. Let's see. Okay, let's go to the new accounting principle change. Go to page 53. Okay, under long-term liabilities, there's a net pension liability. Now this is, if you were to look at last year's statement and this year's audit report, this is the big change. There's a $12.8 million liability that was not on this balance sheet last year. So what effectively it's done, it's also reduced net position, equity, by basically that same $12 million. So if you look at year to year, there's some analysis in the back in the statistical section, but it's drastically reduced net position, and it's even provided an unrestricted deficit in that net position on that same page, the bottom of page 53. But last year, that same number was, I think it was $10 million as a positive number. But municipalities have been going through this in South Carolina. I looked at North Charleston. Their pension liability is $79 million. So, City of Greer in comparison is $8.1 million. So, but basically what that's for, I don't know how familiar you guys are about,
We got detail in the notes of the financial statement starting on page 93. I wouldn't read that right now. It might be some good bedtime material. But it's basically, the pension obligation for the town is, there's all these, there's an actuarial report that South Carolina came up with. They actually gave us that journal entry to make. So we're slapping this actuarial determined liability on the balance sheet. But it's basically the liability for future payouts for the employees' pension plan. So, and that number came up to $12 million, which is also, if you turn to the next page 54 and 55. Now, if you look at the bottom, there on the left side, page 54, you'll see cumulative change in accounting principle, GASB 68 and 71. And you'll see if you follow it all the way across, there's that $12 million that's reducing the net position. So retained earnings, whatever you want to call it. But that's where that's the other side of it. So last year's ending net position was $27 million when we audited the financial statements. Now this year, we have to adjust it by that $12.7 million, and now we start off with, almost $15 million. That's a pretty big hit to net position. So any questions about that?
Just on paper.
Yeah.
And where he's mentioning that, we do address this on page 40 as well in different places. But if you look specifically on page 40, that's part of a report called the Management's Discussion and Analysis. The very last paragraph on page 40 addresses this change that is required by the GASB number 68 and GASB 71. And what's important there, as Mr. Bettis just alluded to, it is on paper. It in no way has any effect on our viability as a city or in our cash flow and liquidity. So we're still in a very, very good position as a city financially.
Okay. Since we're on these two pages, let's go back to 52, 53. I'll just throw a quick ratio. If you compare the current assets to current liabilities, which we usually like to bring up that every year, we have total current assets of $17 million and current liabilities of $5 million. So we got, a ratio of 3, it could cover, the coverage is 3.71 or 3.37. So that's a really good position that your current assets are covering your liabilities by, almost 3.5. So that's also a positive thing I wanted to show you guys. Okay. And one more, fund balance in the general fund as it relates to expenditures for this fiscal year. They like to talk about having a 25% coverage. And as of this fiscal year, it's right at 48%. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. That's almost 6 months of fund balance to cover the fiscal year expenditures. Okay, any questions there? Okay. Let's get to the fun stuff then. Page 166. Now this is the one finding that David took issue with a little bit. He may want to elaborate on it, but on some line items in the general fund, there was a overage, budget to actual overage from what was, the amended budget versus the actual expenditures. And there was 3 columns where that was the case. And that's what there's this finding right here, this sheet here on page 166, and it gives you the criteria, the condition, effect, and the recommendation.
it's a required finding on our point, and on our, our side, because the budget ordinance says that, you have to follow the budget by line item, and if you don't, then you're out of compliance with the budget ordinance, so. But David may want to elaborate. There's a particular response to that, which he may want to.
Correct. On that same page.
I tried to throw him under the bus.
He did.
He didn't change it. I said finance officer.
If you look under that same page that Mr. Grissom is talking about on page 166, if you read the paragraph by the label condition, the three expenditures that we're talking about, one was through some equipment failure that we had reimbursed from insurance proceeds. The other two occurred in our public safety department, and they were expenses we were aware of and monitoring as they occurred. But they were one in particular is our boarding and lodging, which of course, as you're aware, is our charges charged to us from Greenville County, Spartanburg County. We have control over how long we are able to keep our inmates in jail through arraignments. But as far as the charges to us, they are what they are coming from the county. The second part of that is in the personnel costs and overtime. So we knew the expenses were occurring, but when we were looking at the operations, that department was still operating under budget. So we made a decision at that time not to do any budget amendments. We wanted to show where those expenses were hitting to make you aware. So when we get to the audit, I get hit with a finding, but I think it's more important to understand the story behind it. That these are expenses that we're incurring and that we had to cover them to staff the department properly and to cover the rising cost. It is addressed there on page 166 in the paragraph labeled condition. And then I also address it in the notes to the financial statements on page 90. But it's basically the same information that we were aware they were happening, but we had money in the funds to cover the excess as well as the insurance proceeds. Now what happened between June 30th, when we present our operational statements, when we were under budget, going into the financial statement, we have to do a lot of accruals that's required by GASB. And those accruals are what made that department go over budget when you look at the bottom line. But operationally, they were under budget. We were aware of the expenses. I wanted to elaborate a little bit so that you had a full understanding of what was going on, that we were aware of the expenses, and it was very intentional in how we were presenting those financials.
So what do you do to avoid Mr. Grissom's note? Periodically you do budget amendments or something?
We, through the ordinance that Mr. Driggers writes to you and that you approve, gives Mr. Driggers the authority to reallocate funds up to the bottom line that you approve as a budget. Right. This is one I felt very strongly about, that we not do a budget allocation for that we wanted to show. We could have covered it with the rest of the department and with the city being under budget overall, and we would not have this this deficiency report this being reported on this last page.
And we will make some modification to the language in next year's budget to account for that.
That's always an option.
Yes.
But overall expenditures were below budget, the amended budget amounts by $600,000. So it was overall it's not an issue, but it's a line item.
We just don't like bad notes.
Well, he didn't either. I had to work pretty hard to get it in there.
Yeah. I can understand both sides of that argument. Typically we make sure that both the administrator and the department heads have some flexibility in regards to their total budget as to how that money gets spent, and particularly in when we come in these instances where we've got overtime or equipment failure or that sort of thing. That's the whole reason we give them that flexibility.
And that's the only negative part of this presentation. We have a graph. You have a copy? Okay, I got it. Sorry, I got it. It looks like there's 6 pages. And these are covering the last 5 fiscal years, which we did audit. But I thought all the trends overall were very, very positive. The first page, and some of this is in the MD&A also, which if you have time to look at anything related to this audit report, I'd look at the MD&A. So we got general fund revenues over expenditures. You can see we got over $2 million in fiscal year 2015, and You can see that positive trend upward. Then the same with the next page, general fund balance. Just from 2011, you could draw a line that 2015 is a continuous increase in general fund balance. And then the next page, we have cash. I mean, same deal. Cash is right around 16 million. Last year, I think it was around $14 million, and then $10 million the year before that. So there's a steady increase in cash. And then debt outstanding, the next page, you can see the opposite trend of debt going down over the last 3 fiscal years, which is also another positive. And then property tax. This chart, Excel messed up on this one. It's a little bit, it's not, that jump in 2015 column's not in scale. Me and David talked about that, but you get the picture. It's another positive trend overall. Property tax revenue is increasing year to year. And then the same with stormwater fund net assets. You can see kind of where it's gone from 2011 to 2015. But again, a lot of the stuff's in the MD&A, which is a good source of information to check out at the time. Anything else?
Just briefly, as Mr. Grissom brought these graphs to you, he's mentioning the positive trends in general fund balance, positive trend in cash. What we have, that's been very intentional on the part of council and on the part of management and the financial staff. Historically, as you're aware, we typically have to borrow money. A little earlier, he mentioned the fund balance ratio. Now, we calculate a little bit differently here in the finance department according to our financial policy that I have in place. We calculated at 41% because we use it, we compare it to the next year's budget. He's comparing it to the current year that we just finished. So the ratios are a little different as the budget for the following year increases. But we do have a 41% coverage based on our financial policy. But what that has allowed us to do is, as we told you last year, was the first year we have not had to borrow money for cash flow purposes. We will be able to continue that, into the following year. For this current year, do not anticipate borrowing money. So while the numbers are getting greater, it is helping our cash flow, helping the cycles of cash flow so that we're not borrowing money, and ultimately we are saving money then by not paying those interest charges. So as you have hopefully had a chance to absorb some of this over the weekend, and then briefly here this evening, if you have any questions, I'd be happy to entertain those.
Thank you. Council, questions, comments, observations?
David, with the change with the net position being reduced, I know that's a Gatsby thing, and I mean, that's something that we've been tracking all along?
Well, it's new this year, so we haven't been tracking it all along. We have been projecting it since it was announced about a year and a half ago. The initial estimate that we were going to see about 2.5 times our payroll, which would have put us at about 20 million, would have been our estimated hit that we would have taken. And when the actual numbers came in, it was that $12-14 million swing. So we ended up a little better than our estimates that we were projecting from a year ago. But it is something we watch now. While it does not affect our liquidity, it is a negative number on just those two statements alone. So we're discussing how to mitigate those negative balances there too. We put a plan in place to do
And
it.
it only affects, like you said, the front two statements. The majority of the statements it has no effect on.
I'm just curious what the overall impact of that number, I mean, is that something that we need to be,
In a word, none.
okay.
It has no impact. It is a required disclosure. Our pension is provided by the South Carolina retirement system, police officers retirement system. They have to have the resources to guarantee those. This is an accounting rule that they have to reflect and we have to reflect.
To be very honest, Mr. Dumas, from a managerial perspective, we completely disagree that this should have to be provided in our statements. But it's an accounting rule that we must follow. It has no effect on our financial position of the city. It's reflected in our financial statements. Because there is a liability for our employees who are protected for their pensions. But that is guaranteed and protected by the South Carolina retirement system. We first made council aware in February of 2014 that this rule was coming. And we've been, we've had a lot of heartburn over it from the very beginning. And that heartburn has simply been that to the untrained eye that would pick up a financial statement and see this entry, it would show a $12 million shift on that particular statement. It's why we in the MD&A, in the notes, we've tried very, very hard to give full disclosure of what that is for and why it is there. But again, to answer your question, the impact to us financially in our operations, there is no impact.
That's good news.
And there's 10 pages in the audit report, in the footnotes, if you want to read that. About that many. I had to type them up. It was awful. Yeah. Others?
Well, Mr. Grissom, we certainly appreciate the work of your firm, and hope that you'll pass along to Mr. Brett. We thank you for all that you've done to bring the audit to us this year, and thank you for the work that you've done for us over the last several years. And in regards to your comments, we want to thank David and Susan as well for all the work that they do and for the time and service that they've given to the city. We typically make time to recognize the ongoing reception of the CAFR Award, and I think I see a new one on the wall up there, don't I, David? So we've got another one up there, which just indicates our ongoing commitment to the highest quality of work that we can provide in that regard. And so to all our staff that works in our financial department, I hope you'll pass along tomorrow that as council we are certainly appreciative of it and the direction that we get from the administrator in that regard as well too. So
I certainly appreciate that. Thank you.
thank y'all very much for what you do. And Susan and Ms. Howell, thank you for what you do as well too. Thank you. All right.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. We'd like to recognize Ms. Ann Cunningham, who is our Director of Parks and Recreation. It is our pleasure, and certainly her pleasure, because she has spent a great deal of time and effort in this regard to unveil for you this evening some new information in regards to a walking and bicycling master plan. Gene Crowther is with us this evening from Alta. Gene is an old friend and compatriot from many similar type projects that we've worked on in the past in several different volunteer groups and through her work, and we're always glad to have Jean back with us. And I will assume that she and Ann are going to present some information to us this evening that we hope that you will find exciting and as you will hear, works well with the community master plan that we have been working on as well too. And so with that, the floor is yours, Ms. Cunningham.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I want to share, before I introduce Gene Crowther, I do want to share a little bit of history as to how we got to this point, briefly. In 2009, when the Parks and Recreation Department's master plan was created, overwhelmingly the number one want, desire, need of the residents in the city of Greer was the development of trails, greenways, and blueways. These make our communities more livable, provide connectivity, improve the economy through tourism and civic improvement, preserve and restore open space, and present opportunities for physical activity to improve fitness and mental health. In our 2014 and 15 fiscal year budget, the Parks and Recreation Department was given approval to proceed with the creation of a downtown walking and bicycling master plan with funding provided by a grant through the Greenville-Pickens Area Transportation Study. While potential trails and areas for connectivity have been identified in our outlying areas, the focus of this study was the core of the city. The final amount of the grant, with an additional 20% local match from the city of Greer, was approximately $26,000. In the fall of 2014, a request for qualifications was advertised for this study to find the best suited and most qualified consultant to complete this plan for the city of Greer. Out of 7 applicants, it was determined through a grading and an evaluation process that Alta Planning and Design of Greenville, South Carolina was the best fit for Greer and was awarded the project. A project steering committee was formed in early 2015, and we had our kickoff meeting on March the 26th, a second meeting on June 18th, followed by a public meeting on September the 3rd at the Cannon Center, and our final draft presentation for our steering committee last Wednesday, December the 2nd. Our original completion date for this study was intentionally delayed to ensure we included data collected from the Greer Community Master Plan, which was presented in July. The public told us through the Greer Community Master Plan and other recent significant projects that recreation opportunities in the city are important, particularly those related to walking and bicycling. With improvements planned in major corridors in the city, this is a perfect opportunity to examine and plan new ways for improving the walking and bicycling environment for people of all ages and all abilities. Before we begin our presentation this evening, I would like to recognize members of our project steering committee. Some are present tonight. They spent a great deal of time collecting and reviewing this data for the development of this plan. The members are Larry Wilson, Partnership for Tomorrow, Jeff Tuttle, General Manager for CPW, Amanda Summers, owner of SSI and Vice Chair of the Greer Recreation Association Board of Trustees, Allison Ringer, President of the Trade Street Neighborhood Association, Mark Owens, President of the Greer Chamber of Commerce, Alex Reynolds, President of Taylorstown Square, Mike Sale, Assistant City Administrator, City of Greer, Steve Grant, City of Greer Engineer, Sergeant Randall Ballinger, Greer Police Department Traffic Division, and Red Watson, Assistant Director, Parks and Recreation. I want to thank you so much for your service, for your time, and for your dedication to the city. Now, to begin our presentation, I'd like to introduce Ms. Jean Crowther. She's an Associate and Project Manager with Alta Planning and Design. Jean?
Thank you for the introduction, Anne. Very happy to be here tonight to present the final draft of this process we've been working on. I hope it will come to you as a little more lighthearted and fun than your last presentation. Talking about a walking and bicycling plan really is talking about how people move around Greer, how people experience Greer, how people get outdoors and are active and are healthy, how families interact, how neighbors connect to each other. So that really is kind of the overarching vision and feel of this plan, is really looking at how we can change the infrastructure and how people experience Greer. We did start this process in the spring, as Anne mentioned, and have worked through really following along with the timeline of wrapping up that community master plan to where we are today of presenting the findings and the recommendations of this planning process. At the very outset, we worked with the committee that Anne recognized, along with city staff, to develop a project vision. This really just touches on the need for a connected network of on and off street walkways, bikeways, trails, focusing on safe and family-friendly access in Greer's downtown core, ensuring that this plan really connects the character and the assets that Greer has as a community, and that through this process you're creating the initial framework to connect to the other areas outside of that core, beginning that process of connecting to those outerlying areas, and also using this process to build momentum for economic opportunity and furthering the overall health and wellness of citizens. All of that vision is supported by the recommendations of this. We also developed objectives of what this plan can offer, looking at how we can not only provide recommendations for walking and bicycling, but for walking and bicycling for all ages and abilities in the community, not just one group or one faction of citizens. We ensure that this process capitalizes on the existing resources that you already have. Greer is a community where residents really love being here. They love what Greer has to offer, and we heard that through this process, and we wanted to reflect that in the recommendations. Also ensuring that we're connecting people to the destinations they actually want to get to where people are working, schools, parks, community centers, shopping opportunities, retail, restaurants. This plan is an opportunity to connect that. As was mentioned, we built off of the community master plan, that large effort that's just been completed. This really is an effort to take the first step towards implementing that community master plan and the recommendations and vision that it offered. Some of the key points from that plan that fit with this effort, the idea that Greer is a community that can focus on connecting people to parks and open spaces. This idea of walkable neighborhoods was a critical principle that came out of that planning process, focusing on transportation connectivity and also overall multimodal accessibility, so giving people transportation choices in their daily lives in the Greer community. We took the high-level recommendations of that community master plan where some key corridors and key activity centers were identified for Greer to be focusing on as you move forward. And we wanted to build off of that and drill down to what do those actual improvements look like? Where can Greer start to prioritize those investments to realize the vision of that master plan? The first step in the process was to look at the existing conditions here and ensure that we're meeting the community needs. In our initial assessment, we did find that 1 in 3 households in the community have access to only one motor vehicle. And if you can think about your family and what you have access to in terms of driving around the community, it speaks to that potential need for folks to have other options of how they move around the community. Also, the population that is under the age of 14 years old, reaching over 20%. The children in the community are one of the first and greatest beneficiaries of investing in walking and bicycling. They don't have the capacity to drive, and it's a great opportunity to allow them to connect to the community on their own. And lastly, the Highway 29 corridor study that was just completed to look at transit readiness. That happened earlier this year, and that study to look at transit readiness along that corridor really came back to say we need to focus on the communities along that corridor and help them connect to these centers of activity before we're even looking at transit readiness. So this idea of walking and biking connectivity was one of the critical outcomes of that process. We started with identifying priority corridors where we wanted to focus this effort. You can see we really looked at how we can connect to those critical destinations and those neighborhoods and residential areas. Through this process, we had a public meeting and also sought public input through an online wiki map, which I'll show that. And we heard that we really need to ensure that Century Park was reflected in our priority corridors and ensuring there's a connection to that. So as you'll see us walking through the recommendations, we did go back and add that in as another priority corridor, linking up with the others that are shown in yellow on the map. The public meeting, we had over 60 attendees. We had really tried to ensure that this process was efficient in terms of how we reached out to the public because there have been so many public outreach efforts through that community master plan. We found that Greer is a very civically involved community and people wanted to be a part of this process, wanted to show up and wanted to share their thoughts. Through that public meeting, pedestrian crossings came out as a high priority, the connection to Century Park that I mentioned, focusing on pedestrian facilities that really make it a more inviting and safe and comfortable place to walk and interact, and also connecting to the larger trail networks in the region like the Swamp Rabbit Trail. Through the online map where people could leave real-time comments about specific places where they want to see walking and bicycling improvements, we got a wealth of information that we can incorporate into this process. of the routes that were drawn as priority routes in this process, we saw that people really valued safety as the priority investment. How can you make these routes safer for our family and for using this as a daily transportation option? Also, this need to reflect all ages and abilities, and how can we develop a walking and biking network that's not just for a niche group. Also, we had 60 points that were drawn on the map, and those really focused on intersection improvements. Again, that safety piece and connecting people within the community. From that and our own field work and analysis, mapping analysis that was incorporated into this, we were able to develop a recommended network, and as Ann mentioned, this study focused on just the core of Greer, really looking at the area between Buncombe Highway 29 and the J. Vernon Smith Parkway. And the total mileage you see here, it's a variety of facility types. And we broke those recommendations down into three primary phases. Two are noted here. The first is an investment in the pedestrian realm, the streetscape environment. How can you make it safer and more inviting for that walking activity, for walkability? We identified 4 key corridors for that phase 1 investment. For phase 2, it's building off of that initial investment and looking at ensuring that the street is safe and inviting for all users of the roadway and extending that network out from the downtown core. The third phase is looking longer term. As Ann mentioned, how can we extend beyond that core to the outerlying areas to develop some of those trail and greenway facilities that will be off-street. You can see in our map of recommendations, first looking at sidewalk and pedestrian intersection improvements, focusing on those priority corridors. We identified existing sidewalks that could use maintenance and improvements for safety and comfort. Also, some sidewalk gaps where new sidewalk is recommended to be constructed. Those are shown in red. As well as some crossing improvements at railroads and intersection improvements for pedestrian safety. Also on the map, again, along those priority corridors, you can see the recommended bicycling network to link residents to those key destinations. The colors overlaying those roads reflect the phases for implementation of these projects. The plan also includes some design guidelines to ensure consistency in terms of meeting best standards as you implement these, as you work forwards towards building these facilities. And now looking at the actual priority corridors, I'm going to walk through each of those and just share with you the thoughts on what this can include. The first being that connection to Century Park. So looking along Brushy Creek Road at providing sidewalk infill to make that connection for families to access the park, but also providing an opportunity to develop a family-friendly bicycling route to connect to the back of the park along Circle Drive. Again, phase 1 is that investment in the pedestrian environment and really providing that walking connection, and phase 2 is building from that. To get a sense of what those improvements could look like, of course it is sidewalk construction, but also safer crossing treatments and really a nice, inviting, family-friendly environment. For Main Street, we're proposing improvements to the pedestrian environment as well as bicycling and opportunities. Again, phase 1 is that investment in completing the sidewalk network, enhancing the streetscape so it's accessible and inviting for pedestrians, and then in phase 2, adding to that initial investment to ensure that it's available for all road users. Thinking about what that Main Street investment could look like, really providing some urban treatments that create a nice, not only a nice walking environment, but a nice retail environment, a nice space for people to experience Greer's downtown. With Poinsett, similar recommendations of really enhancing, making spot improvements along the pedestrian environment. In phase 1, relocating utility poles. We know that that's been a safety issue here and an opportunity to really improve the streetscape along that corridor. And in phase 2, building off of that initial investment to ensure that Poinsett is accessible to all road users and really becomes a complete street for Greer and feeding into Greer's downtown. Again, thinking about the components of that and what that would look like, really just a more accessible, inviting streetscape. For Trade and Pelham Streets, that's another priority corridor we identified. This is really a great near-term opportunity to invest not only in the pedestrian environment, providing wayfinding signage to ensure that people feel comfortable and know where they're going and where they're accessing downtown, and then also ensuring that there is some traffic calming treatments and an opportunity for cyclists to access downtown as well. To give you a sense through photo rendering of what that could look like, this is a nice, calm, tree-lined street, very low traffic, very low volume, and the opportunity to complete the sidewalk network along that corridor as part of this improvement. One other priority corridor, Lime Street, Arlington Road, and New Woodruff Road, an opportunity to really change this entire corridor. It's one of the lengthier priority corridors we identified, an opportunity to invest first in the pedestrian environment, again creating safer crossings, addressing the safety needs along that corridor, and then also in the longer term investing in the actual allocation of roadway there to ensure it's accessible for all road users. To give you a sense of what that investment might look like, you can see how just some very simple changes in that intersection and how the roadway is configured, you have an opportunity to really create a safer space, to create a buffer for the pedestrians along that sidewalk, to create higher visibility crosswalks, and make this a more family-friendly corridor. A last priority corridor, Chick Springs Road and Lancaster Avenue. This is something we identified as a great parallel to Highway 29, a great connection to some residential areas, and an opportunity to invest in sidewalk connectivity, completing the sidewalk network there. Also, again, crossing improvements, some pedestrian improvements like pedestrian lighting, as well as a bicycle route corridor. Parallel to that Chick Springs Road and Lancaster Avenue corridor, there's an opportunity in the long term for a shared use path that would run through a utility corridor. And to give you a sense of what that roadway improvement could look like, you can see in this photo rendering an opportunity to create space for all road users and to complete that sidewalk network. With that, we've included in this plan some guidance on next steps moving forward. This is really a plan focused on taking that vision of the community master plan, drilling down into what the improvements along the priority corridors might be, giving Greer a work plan for where you can move forward from here. And the next steps are to seek funding for implementation of this, look for cost efficiencies and opportunities to partner with DOT and other agencies. Also to conduct a traffic analysis to move these larger projects forward, and to fiscally commit to making these improvements a priority, to really addressing the safety needs and family-friendly and community access in Greer. And we also heard through this process the need to invest in bicycle parking, which is really a low-cost, big benefit way to make the community more bicycle friendly just by providing that simple amenity of somewhere to keep your bike safely. With that, I will welcome any questions that you have about the planning process or our findings.
Council? Rather, one of the things that I guess I would like just some suggestions on is how do we add an educational piece to this? I think one of the things that may possibly be a little bit confusing to our citizens when we talk about a walking or a bicycle plan is the just almost overwhelming success of a rail-to-trail type project where you've got long linear parks so you can get on at one place and go as far in one direction as you want to and then turn around and come back, which are great, and I love those. But this is certainly not one of those plans, nor is it designed to be one. How do we better help our community understand that while we may not have that particular type of opportunity, we've certainly got the opportunity to create a network of trails and pathways that will serve us in a very similar fashion, but just look different.
That's a great point, and I highly recommend that type of education and what we would call education and encouragement programs be added to this as a community, that there's some efforts to share that message, and to, as these investments are made, that there are some programs that invite people to use and experience and kind of in a structured way get out as a community and walk and bike together. That is part of the learning process of people kind of seeing the benefit that is there of these downtown and core investments separate from a long linear trail. I think the value and the fun and the experience of a long linear trail is pretty obvious, but when you invite people to participate in a neighborhood walk to dinner, which the neighborhood I used to live in would do that once a month, you get to see what an experience it is and how delightful it can be to have a nice sidewalk with pedestrian lighting that gives you access to a locally owned restaurant or a favorite spot. When you have, honestly, just the investment in these streetscapes, I think when people see how that impacts the retail environment and how people access your destinations. Greer's done a wonderful job revitalizing your downtown, and this is going to only add to that and add to the access to that. With some education and encouragement programs, you can help people get out and experience that and really see the benefit.
In your experience, has SCDOT become more open to the idea of allowing some of these improvements on state-owned roads? I know that I was recently in Aiken, which has a similar situation to ours, where they have a road, actually a state highway through the middle of their downtown, but they've done some very creative crosswalks downtown. Have you found SCDOT to be more open to those types of efforts?
Yes, especially here in our district of DOT, and it's a result of them being asked so much more in the last 10 years than they used to be, and coming along with that. Also, I will say we have heard over and over again that a plan is critical. They would prefer to be able to reference, how is this investment that you're asking us to make, or this treatment that you're asking us to improve, how does that connect to what you're going to do next, or how does it actually link up with a network, versus a patchwork of requests where they don't really see what the overall opportunity is or connection is. We've heard that. Also, we heard this in the planning process, but I think they recognize it's a real safety issue, and it's not just a theoretical one. It's a real one, and there's the data and need to back that up.
So are some of our early efforts then, in terms of things that we've already begun to do, would possibly readdressing them as part of this plan, in terms of maybe updating or upgrading or bringing them up to the standard that we would want to see here? Is that potentially sort of low-hanging fruit in terms of projects that we might be able to get started on?
Yes, I think you have a number of opportunities that are low-hanging fruit. Not only that, but also, there are a number of corridors that are not DOT-owned, that, portions of these priority corridors that we identified, which just remove some of the hurdles you would otherwise have. So I think you have a number of opportunities that are very doable.
Great. Council? Others? Well, again, we not only appreciate your work on that, but the committee that's been recognized and others that have, our staff that have given their time and attention to this, and we look forward to next steps, which was identified in the plan there. So thank you for what you've done and for the presentation this evening. Thank you to staff as well for all of your work in that regard, and we'll look forward to identifying possibly some of those low-hanging fruits and getting started soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
With that, then, we will move to our administrator's report. Mr. Driggers.
Thank you, Mayor. Members of council, do let me add as well relative to the pedestrian and bicycle plan that we just had some information on. As Gene indicated, what we received tonight is a draft. Our intention is for you to absorb this document and spend some time with it, and then when we gather again in January 2016, it is our intention to bring the plan back to you and to ask you to either make modifications or amendments to that plan, offer any suggestions that you would like to see included in that, and then ultimately for us to adopt a plan moving forward. We would need council to take action on that. We would like to do that in January simply because as you gather later in February, as part of your annual strategic planning session, it would be our desire to spend some time very intentionally talking about potential implementation plans for this and for other parts of our community master plan as well. So all of this really is falling into place, but we wanted to give you the next month or so to ask any questions that you may have, again, to seek out additional information. It will remain in draft form until ultimately it's placed on your agenda, and council will either adopt the plan as presented or make amendments to it so that we can move forward. Also, relative to the earlier presentation on our audit, I do call your attention that while we received our audit report this evening, we are also publishing our comprehensive annual financial report, and that is what you have received in bound copy this evening. The comprehensive annual financial report, the CAFR, goes into much more detail than you would typically find solely in the audit. This document is provided to our public immediately following this meeting. It will be uploaded to our website as quickly as we can get that uploaded, so it's available for all of our community, and of course members of the media have been provided copies of this as well. In full disclosure for our community, we want to make sure that all of our financial documents are available for their review as well, and we will certainly make ourselves available to the general public. Any questions that they have concerning our financial statements or our general financial condition, and of course that opportunity is always provided to you as well. I add those earlier comments of thanking Mr. Seifert and Ms. Howell, the members of our finance department. Compiling this information it takes months and months. This is not a short-term process. It is required by state statute that we produce an annual audit. We are not required to produce a CAFR. We choose to do that. But we are very, very happy to report that in every year that we've been doing that, for about the last 18 or 19 years, we are recognized with an achievement award for the condition of that CAFR. Very, very proud of that accomplishment. Several things that we want to make you aware of, and that is just a couple of reminders. One of those is that our employee breakfast, our appreciation breakfast for our entire team, will be taking place this Friday morning here in this facility. We do hope that your schedule will allow you to attend. This is a wonderful celebration for us each year as we bring in all of our team members to tell them thank you. Thank you for the job that they do each and every day in the performance of providing services to our community. We are continuing to work with our police department and our Cops for Tots program. That is going very, very well. You'll see several collection opportunities for toys for that program. But next weekend following, our police department will be involved in the distribution of those toys and gifts for our community. Typically around 250 families are assisted through that program. Also, just as a reminder, this Friday as well, all of our employees are involved in a food drive campaign as well, and we do that for the benefit of Greer Relief. And we've been collecting those items for the last couple of weeks, and we'll conclude that this Friday morning and deliver those items over to Greer Relief this Friday as well. For your calendars, I also remind you that the Chamber and the Greer Development Corporation Partnership for Tomorrow drop-in is on Thursday evening, the 17th. That'll be taking place over at Grace Hall on Trade Street, so we hope that you'll be able to enjoy some time and visit with members of our Chamber and other organizations here in our community. That's always a wonderful opportunity. I also remind you that my wife and I, Christy, and I are looking forward to hosting you at our home. We'll be doing that here in the next couple of weeks, and we look forward to doing that we're able to do each year as well. Our next meeting is not until January of 2016. We'll gather on January the 12th for your first meeting. We will do the swearing in of our newly elected and certified officials, as well as we remind you that there will also be on your agenda the election of your Mayor Pro Tem for the next 2 years. That'll be taking place at that first meeting in January. We are preparing for your planning retreat that is typically held in February. We do ask you to look at your calendars to look at when that can best be accommodated. We've got great flexibility in how we do that. I'll be working with the mayor in coordinating with his schedule and also looking for format ideas for us to use this year. But we do ask you to please take a look at your calendar. If there are known conflicts, if you can make us aware of those, we'll certainly work around those. But we are looking forward to preparing for that strategic planning retreat in early 2016 as we move forward as well. For tonight's meeting, I do not have any items to request of you for executive session. There may be items that council requests, but there are none from administration. That would conclude my report. Certainly available to answer any questions that you may have now, or myself or any of our staff are always available immediately following the meeting, and of course at any time that you may have issue or concern or questions concerning the operations of the city.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate it. We have one item in regards to appointments of boards and commissions, and that's a reappointment in the Recreation Association Board of Trustees. Mr. Griffin is not with us this evening in regards to District 2. Do we have any information, Ms. Duncan, in regards to Mr. Ballinger's reappointment?
No, sir.
Okay. We'll wait on Mr. Griffin to proceed in that regard then. With that, then, we're going to move to items of old business. I know a number of you have stayed with us for items that may appear in old business, but certainly in new business. Typically, in items of old business, we have addressed some of the basics prior to this and have actually taken a first reading. It is on first reading that we delve into many of the questions that have been raised in regards to some of the items before us. So we will move to items of old business. When we get to items of new business, we'll give some instructions in regards to how we will proceed on those, just for your edification as we begin to move through those. With that, then, we are going to move to the first item of old business, which is the second and final reading of ordinance number 21-2015. This is an ordinance to provide for the annexation of property owned by Alverson Properties, LLC, located on South Buncombe Road by 100% petition and to establish a zoning classification of C3 for said property. Mr. Pace will join us this evening to help us along through these discussions in regards to ordinance 21-2015. Do you have any new or additional information to bring us this evening, Mr. Pace?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Planning Commission did hold public hearing in regards to this property. located on Buncombe Road, and the Planning Commission did not have anyone to speak in favor or in opposition to this request, and they therefore recommend to you unanimous approval for the zoning of this property.
Comes with a recommendation from the Planning and Zoning Commission. Do I hear a motion to receive?
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Floor is open for discussion or questions of Mr. Pace. Hearing none. Ms. Duncan?
Ms. Bookert?
Yes.
Mr. Dumas?
Yes.
Mr. Bettis? Ms. Albert?
Yes.
Mayor Danner?
Yes. We have the second and final reading of ordinance number 29-2015, an ordinance to provide for the annexation of a portion of property owned by William C. and Carolyn Doris located at 16 Quail Creek Drive by 100% petition and to establish a zoning classification of DRD for said property. Mr. Pace?
Yeah, Mayor and Council, Planning Commission did hold public hearing in regards to the zoning of this property. This is only a 3.75 acres of the overall 17.7 acres, and we'll speak more in regards to zoning or other issues that have been brought to you tonight in later case item B of new business. But Planning Commission did meet, and residents from the Rich Glen neighborhood did speak at that public hearing, and notes were taken in regards to their concerns. And the Planning Commission did recommend unanimous approval of the zoning of that property.
What is this 3 acres? What is that to consist of? I know the other acreage was to, the new one coming before us is to build like 45 homes. What is the 3 acres?
The 3 acres was a part of that 17 that Mr. Doris at some time had purchased after his original property purchase, and it never got inside the city for whatever reason, so we're just, the first step was to clear up that portion before we moved further with the 7, so we can move further with the 17-acre portion.
Is there anything on that 3 acres?
It's vacant currently.
All vacant?
The 375 is vacant, yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
Okay.
We have a recommendation from the Planning Commission to proceed with the second reading of ordinance number 29-2015. I'll entertain a motion to receive.
So moved.
I have a motion to hear a second.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Floor is open for discussion or further questions in regards to this annexation.
I'm sorry if I spoke out of turn.
No, that's fine. I think we've got that cleared up. This consolidates the larger piece and the smaller piece, correct?
That is true.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, with that, we have a motion and a second in that regard. Other questions, comments?
My only question would be, how is this going to impact this 45 homes? I know I've heard the concerns of the citizens that live in that Rich Glen subdivision there. So I'm just wondering how this portion is going to impact that.
Well, this portion, like I said, will become part of the 17. And the impact would be that they're concerned with the total addition of 45 homes. This property of 17 acres has only one access point. It does not have contiguity to any other road, either inside or outside the city. It's primarily landlocked, and the only egress ingress for the property is Quail Creek.
Mr. Pace, as far as traffic is concerned, I heard that come up quite a bit. What measures do we take, or do we do studies, or how does that play out in situations like this where there is just one access road?
According to our land development regulations, we do not do traffic impact studies on less than stuff that will, items that will create more than 100 peak hour trips in a given day. That usually equates to single family about 92 units before this would even kick in. The 45 would not trigger that, and even if that was triggered, what we did in our land development regulations when those were adopted is residential communities did not necessarily have to do a traffic impact study. They were to install left turn lanes if they met the threshold of the 100 peak hour trips. This is running about 43 peak hour trips here. That would probably be about twice a day, once in the morning, once in the afternoon.
Council, let's, just as a matter of clarity as well, too, if you'll notice, we'll get into a request for a rezoning classification on the property. What we are considering now is simply the annexation of the property. As you're aware and been reminded by Mr. Pace, the larger portion of the property has already been annexed in. This is a piece that is adjacent and is established by contiguity to the property. So the matter before us in regards to number 29-2015 is for the annexation of the smaller piece. We will get into more discussion as regards to the zoning classification and other items as specified later in the meeting this evening. We have a motion and a second in regards to final reading of ordinance 29-2015. Do I have other questions in regards to the annexation? Comments? Questions? Hearing none. Ms. Duncan?
Ms. Bookert?
Yes, on the annexation, yes.
Mr. Dumas?
Yes.
Mr. Bettis?
Yes.
Ms. Albert?
Yes.
Mayor Danner?
Yes. We'll now move to the items of new business. The first of which is the first reading of ordinance number 33-2015. This is an ordinance to change the zoning classification of property owned by Tim Howard Leasing LLC located at 92 Old Woodruff Road from R7.5 to RM1. This ordinance is in regards to a rezoning request for the property located at 92 Old Woodruff Road and requesting a zoning classification for the residential multifamily for .56 of a tenth acre to construct multifamily. Mr. Pace, if you will bring us information in that regard. I'll also ask if in just a minute about those that might speak to the matter.
Yes, sir. Again, in this case, it was reviewed also on November the 16th at the Greer Planning Commission regular scheduled meeting. The purpose of the rezoning request is, again, there is currently contains one single-family dwelling. This property primarily is a triangle-shaped piece of property with a frontage on Woodruff Road, Old Woodruff Road and Snow Street. It lies across from some commercially zoned property that's currently in the city, and they are seeking to, as my understanding, remove the single-family structure and construct, as density will permit, 1 to 2 or 2 to 3 duplex-type units for this property, and therefore the request for the multifamily is before you tonight. At public hearing, no one spoke in favor or in opposition to the request, and the Planning Commission did unanimously recommend for the rezoning.
By show of hand at this point, is there a representative of the property or owner of the property with us this evening? Okay, thank you. We may have questions later. Would you like to address council at this point in time? Is there any information that you'd like to add to what Mr. Pace has already told us?
It was pretty much what he said. We're saying that there was one based in Old Woodruff and one based in Snow.
Okay. All right. For the purpose of discussion, I'll entertain a motion to receive ordinance number 33-2015.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. The floor is open for discussion. Mr. Pace, please, if you will, refresh my memory. I know that we just had this discussion at one of our last meetings about duplexes and triplexes and multifamily on relatively small plots of land. Can you further enlighten us again on that? I seem to have forgotten some of the details that you shared with us.
All right, and if I can remember myself, I'll try to. But again, multifamily does allow for multi-unit descriptive property to be developed in that manner. This is a relatively small tract of land. It will be a duplex. or a couple of duplexes on the property. There'll be no high-rise structures of any sort on the property. The community, again, would support, I think there's some duplexes close by in the area that have been there for quite some time. And the property that we're looking at being under an acre in size, its density is not going to be very populous or dense, excuse me, in regards to that. But that's pretty much where we stand on this. If you got specific questions, I'll be glad to try to entertain those.
Are there any challenges with the triangular lot?
No, sir, not with frontage being on the Old Woodruff and on Snow Street. It's, as the applicant has stated, they would like to position one that does have entry from Snow Street and one that would have entry from Old Woodruff Road. And again, they would obtain the necessary curb cuts for that and driveway locations for that, so it did not and would not project any traffic situations in regards to the intersection there.
Does it reach all the way into where that, I think they moved that old house from there, that triangular looking house I think was sitting on there?
I'm not familiar with another house being on that property.
That's it? Okay. Still there? Okay.
Yeah.
Also got that old alleyway behind it.
Mm-hmm.
Actually use that coming in and out.
Okay.
Isn't there a power line that cuts through there too?
Over top.
I'm not
Right on the backside of
Not
that lot?
right there, I'm not familiar with them.
It's over a little bit, that power line. I know what you're talking about. So it'd essentially just be 4 units that would be able to fit on that one.
Yes, ma'am.
Others? Mr. Pace, I know we're talking about units facing different directions here. On a property this size, when we're doing multiple units, is it possible to have shared access in terms of drives and parking areas and that sort of thing, or do they have to truly be separated?
No, sir, it does not have to be truly separated. We can come up with a plan that meets their needs as well as primary concerns with traffic on Snow or Old Woodruff Road. They haven't got to the level of detail yet that we lay out, other than some rudimentary drawings that we've done and they've created thus far. We haven't got into a full-blown development process for this yet.
Council, we have a motion and a second in regards to the first reading of ordinance number 33-2015. Any other comments or questions in that regard? Hearing none. Ms. Duncan?
Ms. Bookert?
Yes.
Mr. Dumas?
Yes.
Mr. Bettis?
Yes.
Ms. Albert? Mayor Danner?
Yes. Council, I'll switch to paper here in just a minute if I can't get back to my online agenda. I scrolled over too many maps there, so I'm trying to get back. Council will move to the second item, which is the first reading of ordinance number 34-2015. This is an ordinance to change the zoning classification of property owned by William C. and Carolyn R. Doris located at 16 Quail Creek Drive from a PD to an R12 residential single family and DRD design to DRD. Mr. Pace, information in that regard, please, sir.
Yeah, Mayor and Council, public hearing was held on November the 16th at Greer Planning Commission regular scheduled meeting. Again, we talked about the proposed addition of 45 units to the property, which currently is not a function of the Rich Glen subdivision. However, it's only access and egress to the property is via Quail Creek Drive to enter the property. Therefore, that point, the new community would take up and go from that point. Discussion was held among the developers of the property and possible purchasers of the property in regards to different items that were talked about during the meeting, such as at one point talking about joining HOAs and those type issues. Traffic was a concern of those, understandably so, with heavy equipment that could or could not or would be moving into the area during the construction phase of this. We have had, at this point, only staff-level conversations about the property. Those will come at a later date. The property still has to have a primary design approved by the Planning Commission. We're not at that phase yet with the property. We're just trying to obtain the initial zoning classification of the design review district, and they will make more detailed analysis of the property and where things will be located. Primarily, it's just line drawing right now with proposed locations of streets and layout for the community. That will get much more in-depth at a time later as submitted to the Planning Commission for that review. Again, no traffic impact study is required according to our land development regulations. And for informational purposes, this is a 17.7 acre tract. We're looking at about 2.25 units per acre. That's equivalent to about a R15 at 2.9 or 2.2 units per acre. Most developments we have been approving in the last few years has been at a higher density rate of R12 in that category, where you're running about 3.6 units. So again, we're not maxing out density for this proposed project, and it was my understanding at the original discussions with development and developers that the construction would not be a mass grade site. It would be a site where homes would be constructed, some of those on footings, some of those in basements and other type. And if slab presentation is available on some of the lots, that's what they would do also. So it will be a mixture of those type issues that we relegate and look to. Staff has already had some discussion in regards to transportation of heavy equipment on and off site on existing city streets, and we will once again resurvey those streets and take a look at them, see what condition those streets may be in at this current time and where they will be as we progress through the development of this property, and making sure that damages and repairs that are necessitated by the development would be taken care of in a timely fashion. And that's, again, it has not went to our Planning Advisory Committee, just to the Planning Commission. And again, there still is another step to the process that we'll go through.
I think we'll want to revisit a brief description of the DRD. I know that can be a bit confusing at some point in time, but at this point, I'd like to ask, by show of hand, is the owner of the property or a representative of the owner of the property with us this evening? Would you like to address council, sir? I would. Floor is yours.
First of all, I would like to share with you that my cell phone number is area code 864-313-6998. I was not aware of the problems that you experienced last night, but I can personally assure you that they will not happen again. Thank you, Mayor, for letting me speak for just a minute. I lived through some times with Rich Glen too when you were just building the subdivision, and I had to use my four-wheel drive vehicle to get into my house. So I've been gone from that property for 9 years. I have spent a lot of time, energy, money, and efforts to get that property sold. So you can imagine that I, of all people, don't want anyone to be displaced, to cause a problem. I will work with the developers in any way I personally can to make sure that the impact to the subdivision is the least possible way to do it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Council, for the purpose of discussion, I'd entertain a motion that we receive ordinance number 34-2015.
So moved.
Second.
Floor is open for discussion, and I think, Mr. Pace, this might be an appropriate time for us to revisit at least a brief oversight of the DRD, which is the Design Review District. This is a little bit different approach than we normally take, or at least is customary in terms of residential design, and we were very specific to add that option to our toolbox, particularly for instances just like this very one before us this evening. You may want to explain both for council, for our edification, as well as those that are interested tonight, why we have added that option, and a little bit more as to how that works, and why we are taking a first reading without some of the answers that were sought tonight, but also disclose the fact that this is an ongoing process, and that there's certainly much legwork to be completed between now and our final reading on this. So just to help us understand, and possibly the public as well too, you want to share some information in regards to the Design Review District?
Yes, sir. We did again create the Design Review District to allow the Planning Commission and City Council better opportunity to work closer with developers on products that are sustainable throughout our community. These products could be anything from commercial products, industrial products, residential products. It would be applicable to all of those classifications that we normally see. However, it does give us another process in this wheel that we see design of product before it ever meets the ground, and a lot of times we have zoning in place that doesn't allow that, and we take it on best faith effort that they will put forth a viable product to us. But this gives us the opportunity to take a deeper look at that and to address concerns that we have as staff, as citizens, as community members, and as developers also have concerns from time to time that they will attempt to resolve before development gets too far into the process. We feel like that with this we've accommodated complaints, or not complaints, but concerns from citizens in satisfactory manners in the past. Some issues we just will not be able to 100% be resolved, and some of those being unique to the property that we have, and that being this property here, as it only has one way in, one way out. It is landlocked other than that, and like I said, for quite some time we're trying to, as we can, alleviate those type circumstances, but we just don't see the possibility of doing that as this property currently lays. But again, with the basic general layout of the community now, satisfactory to the staff, satisfaction of the staff has not yet been met. There will be a higher degree of review that will take place by planning staff, by engineering staff, by stormwater staff, and by building codes in itself. So again, instead of just carte blanche saying that you can have whatever you want on your property with this particular zoning classification, we can control some of those parameters. It does give us the flexibility to allow for higher densities where that's appropriate, more or less density where it's not, and it allows us to regulate and look at different setbacks and different side setbacks, rear setbacks, and property locations than our normal zoning classification does allow. So again, we look at it from a lot of different perspectives, and we try to make sure again that we're getting quality substantial development in the city.
Council, floor is open for questions.
Has there been any conversation about the construction of these homes? I mean, what they will be, or price range, or anything like that?
Again, nothing's approved at
that
this
comes up
time,
later.
but we're talking, as stated earlier, 3 and 4 and bedroom homes. Square footage would be in, I think, the 1,500 square foot range. There will be, as usual, garages attached to these. There will be some green space incorporated into the overall design of the community. And again, those are the type structures similar to cottage-style design features and characteristics, with a variety of brick, stone, hardy plank, and those type elements of the construction.
With the DRD, do we have say-so as far as the buffer lines or
Yes,
anything
ma'am,
like
there
that?
is
How far back?
We can address those issues at that time if there are concerns. We can, normally we don't screen or buffer residential to residential
Right.
as two light uses. But again, if we're having concerns from our communities and from staff as well, that there's concerns out there, we can address those through the process with planning.
So after our vote tonight, we'll be doing the research as far as the stormwater issues, the road issues. I know there's not going to be any testing or anything
Right.
for the roads, but we'll be looking at the other.
We'll be looking at them to make sure that, I've ridden on them, but I don't remember the condition of it because I don't really look at that. But they're not that bad of streets, although they're getting some age on them. They're 15 plus years old for some of those streets over there, so it's time's catching up with us.
Yeah, Ms. Booker, to address that issue, at our staff meeting yesterday, as we were reviewing this in preparation for tonight's meeting, one of the issues that came up in that is what would be the impact to the streets in the existing neighborhood for the construction traffic. And we acknowledge that we believe that there would be some impact. And as a result of that, we believe that it would be appropriate that we would completely inventory and document the existing condition of all of those assets, and that we would have to have an understanding and agreement that if there is any deterioration because of the type of traffic, the construction traffic that would negatively impact that would have to be a responsibility for the development to make those repairs. We just think that would be absolutely essential to do that. And the only way that we know to do it would be to inventory and document. Document simply being that we would record the condition of that entire area.
There was talk of a bridge, Mr. Pace. I don't see that on.
I'm not exactly sure what bridge they're talking about.
It's a culvert.
Culvert?
At the existing
Like-
driveway.
Yeah, down at the end of the road.
Yeah.
And again, that was a culvert for your driveway? Correct. Okay. That may not even remain in existence. I mean, like I said, we haven't, when it was replaced, it was looked at for a single family unit. Now it will have to be looked at as an entrance into a community. So that absolutely could change.
Right, so it'd have to be a bigger bridge there.
Wider
Two-way
than
traffic,
what
yeah,
currently
to
is
allow
there.
two-way traffic.
Potentially. I mean, we would have to look at the engineering of
Exactly.
the capacity of
Yeah,
what's
'cause
there.
I haven't paid that much attention, but I don't think it's a very big bridge. I haven't been down there in a while, but I don't think it's a very big bridge, more like for one car going in, and which, little road, yeah.
It's a driveway culvert.
Yeah.
And,
You can, if you look at it on an aerial, I mean, you can see where the driveway kind of picks up. It gets very narrow right there, and the trees start to kind of enclose on it.
I'm hoping you're using our online tool to look at that.
That's quite fancy.
Other questions or comments for Mr. Pace?
Well, I feel better knowing, that this first step will be for evaluation as far as stormwater and all that. And I have a lot of confidence in our city staff and officials that they will make sure that it's handled correctly. And as far as the issue, I know they mentioned something about traffic calming. Then, we do have a program in effect for that and guidelines to go by on that. So, yeah.
And this road, based on the increased traffic count, would qualify for traffic calming.
But that I'm not sure of.
Have steps to go by.
Yeah, they'll do the testing.
People to certain
Sign
percentage
petitions
to
and-
agree to it, things like that.
I mean, if I remember correctly, though, they're going to have enough traffic on the road where they could qualify if they got the signatures on the road coming in and out.
Yeah,
That's administered through the engineering department. I really don't have any idea. I don't keep up with that.
Homeowners could come in and do it anyway.
number of homes and vehicles would certainly qualify in that
Number of
area.
homes, yeah.
Do want to add one comment after the vote on this, because it's not particularly germane to this, but it arose during the conversation, so I will add that after the vote. Other questions? Ms. Duncan?
Ms. Booker?
Yes.
Mr. Dumas?
Yes.
Mr. Bettis?
Yes.
Ms. Albert?
Yes.
Mayor Danner?
Yes. Before we move to item C, I know there was a question raised about some of the other surface roads and conditions and things in that area. Mr. Driggers, if my memory recalls, we have addressed some of those issues in the past. Most of those roads that run off of both Hammett Bridge and some of the others out there are primarily county roads, if I'm not mistaken. Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. All right. So there are a number of county roads in that area that may best be addressed by a conversation with the county in regards to needs, particular needs in that area for upgrading or repair. With that, then, we'll move to first reading of ordinance number 35-2015, an ordinance to change the zoning classification of property owned by New Jerusalem Baptist Church located at 416 East Poinsett Street from C2 commercial to R.75 single-family residential. Mr. Pace?
Yeah, Mayor and Council, this was heard before the Planning Commission at the November 16th meeting. This is a matter of housekeeping issues with our zoning map and what land uses are currently on site there now. This home has been used for New Jerusalem Baptist Church for quite some time. They had purchased this home and the additional home next door, which was later removed for additional parking for the church. They used this home as a type home for a single family unit to be brought in and to have an opportunity to strengthen themselves somewhat of being underprivileged, underserved, and they will get back on their feet, and again, another resident may come into that house at a later date and time. They were in the process of seeking permitting for remodeling of the home, and that's when we noticed the issue that the zoning was incorrect. The current zoning in place is C2, and for a single-family home to operate, it would take a zoning classification of residential, and that's what we have tried to accomplish with this. No one spoke in favor or in opposition to the request, and therefore the Planning Commission did recommend unanimous approval of this.
By show of hand, is the owner of the property or representative of the owner of the property with us this evening? I entertain a motion to receive.
So moved.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Comment? Discussion? Questions of Mr. Pace? Hearing none. Ms. Duncan?
Ms. Booker?
Yes.
Mr. Dumas?
Yes.
Mr. Bettis?
Yes.
Ms. Albert?
Yes.
Mayor Danner?
Yes.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Thank you. Council, this is indeed our last meeting of 2015. While we will certainly be together, hopefully on some occasion between now and Christmas, I want to thank you for for your attendance and for your hard work and for your commitment to the positions that you hold at this table. And thank you for helping guide us through another successful year. As Mr. Griffin is wont to say sometimes, we don't always agree, but we always figure a way to do what's right and to do what's best in the interest of the city. And I appreciate your cooperation and understanding and commitment to that task, and hope that the holiday season will be safe and merry for you and your families. For our staff, Mr. Driggers and Ms. Duncan, others that have been with us here through this evening, thank you as well for what you've done to make 2015 a banner year. And as exciting as 2015 is, I think that I can say without reservation and without spoiling anything that Mr. Deaton has for us, that 2016 is going to be a record year. And we are going to keep you busy in 2016. I can assure you of that, and so I look forward to another year as we go forward into 16, and for some of us another 4 years, and for others at least another couple before you'll be back in the queue again. But want to thank you for all of your service to the city of Greer. We have no items in executive session. Means we stand adjourned.